Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and I'm here to bring you all things DIY for your house and home to elevate your space on a budget. Before we get started though, if you're interested in content like that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when more content like this comes around. So today we're going to be doing modern boho wall art pieces. The inspiration from these are these wreath rings I found from Walmart. So that's what we're doing today. I have 3 different ideas for you today, all of which have been inspired by a certain piece, but still infused with my own kind of flair. So I'm really excited to share these with you and I hope you love them. All right, but let's get started. So we're gonna call this the Macrame Triangle. So the items that you'll need for this project are the wreath ring. I chose the medium size for the wreath ring instead of the bigger size or the smaller size. You'll need some yarn, a gem of your choice. Now I got this gem in a 2-pack from Michael's and it was on sale for $2.17. You'll also need twine and of course macrame cord. Now to save yourself some money, you can swap out the macrame cord and use yarn instead or twine. Definitely say start off with laying your ring down on the table and kind of take a marker, a Sharpie, or I used a paint pen, and kind of mark where you want your pieces to go to create the triangle. Then take your twine, reach it across each of the points that you marked, and cut the twine accordingly. Do that for the other side as well. So next you're going to thread the yarn through the gem piece that you bought. Once that is threaded through, just make sure you tie it tight and glue down the frayed piece if necessary. So you're going to take your twine pieces and lay it over the marks that you made and then glue it. Now if you have excess, make sure you cut the excess off, but you want to make sure that it looks like a triangle. And then on top of that, you're going to glue your yarn piece with the gem on top of that as it hangs. Next is the macrame cord. I would definitely say that you don't need more than 3 feet. What I do with crafts like these is make sure that I have a guide piece. So I cut 1 piece first and that is my guide for the rest of the cuts. So my guide piece is always off to the side after I've done all my cuts and is not in the total number of pieces that I need, because of the fact that in case I need more, I can always go back to that guide piece and use it again. So now you've cut all your pieces. So what you want to do is now loop them together. So I have 21 pieces in total. So I started off by grabbing the ends of the macrame cord, making sure they're even, and finding the center of the macrame cord. So you want to have the macrame cord go into an upside down U under the ring. Then you want to feed through the end pieces of your macrame cord through that hole and pull it all the way through until it is tight. So you're going to repeat that for all of the macrame cord pieces that you have. Once you've completed that, you're going to start making the triangle. So you want to take the furthest macrame cord on the end, you want to drape it at an angle, and then you're going to take the piece next to it and start tying it around. So the way I tie it around, I always kind of think of it in my head as like making a 4 with the string. So you cross it over, loop it through, and then pull it tight. And you're going to do this twice for every single string. So once you've done the second one, you're going to just pull it off to the side so that you don't grab it again. Once I started getting close to the center of the piece, I went to the other side and started going from that direction, coming back to the center point as well, just because I wanted to make sure that the center was actually indeed in the center and not off center. So you're going to complete that until you get to the center. So once you get to that point, you're going to first kind of just tie it, and then you're going to do your knot on one side and then switch it and do the knot on the other side. And that's how I created my point. Lastly is just cutting the macrame cord to the size that you want it. But yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so for the next one, I'm calling this the Beaded Boho Fringe. The items that you'll need are the small wreath ring. You'll need yarn of your choice. You'll need wooded beads, and I have 5 wooded beads. Last but not least, you'll need some embroidery floss. So first and foremost, I went ahead and started cutting my string. Now for your string, you don't need long pieces. I would say maybe at most 5 inches, unless you want it longer. I started with a guide piece and started cutting it, folding it over so that I could cut it every once in a while. So you'll need enough yarn to cover the wreath ring about halfway, I would say. I doubled up on the pieces of string, so keep that in mind when you're cutting. You might need more. Again, I would suggest keeping that guide piece off to the side so that if you need to cut more, you can go ahead and cut more. So again, you're just going to kind of loop it. You're going to do upside down U again. Find that center point. Take the tips of your end pieces and thread it through the U and then pull down on it so that it's taut and creates sort of like a knot. So continue that process until you've completed it and it's about halfway. Then I moved on to cutting the fringe. So I just slowly started cutting it in a roundish way, turning it every once in a while to make sure that it was even. So once I was done with the yarn, I went ahead and started off with the beaded part. So I started off by taking my embroidery floss and threading it through the bead. So I tied it multiple times to make sure that the bead wouldn't fall off. Once I was happy with how many times that I tied it, which was a lot, I also made sure that I glued the bottom of it so that it wouldn't move as well. Once I was happy with it, I kind of draped it over the wreath ring to the height that I wanted it. And then I took my glue gun and put a little small dollop of glue and then laid the embroidery floss over it. So then I just repeated this process, making sure that as I went out closer to the edge of the wreath ring with my beads, that the height was higher than my initial middle bead. So once that was all set, I was basically done with it. Last but not least, we have what I'm calling the two-tiered ring. What you'll need for this project is 2 of the wreath rings. Now I use the smallest wreath ring as well as the medium-sized wreath ring. You'll need yarn. You could choose to either use one color of yarn for both tiers, or you can do what I did, which is use a different color for each of the tiers. So first and foremost, we're going to start off by kind of taking the wreath rings and at the top of it, kind of place them together so that the wreath rings touch on the top, only the top. So we're going to secure the tip of the yarn first on the wreath rings, and every few wraps or so, secure it with glue gun and glue stick again, and continue to wrap it. So once we secure the wreath rings together with the yarn, we wanted to go and start making our cuts for the yarn. So for the first smaller tier, I cut 20 pieces of the yarn. For my second bottom tier, I cut 40 pieces. And again, found the centerpiece, created the upside down U and pulled it tight. So I did this for the top tier and the bottom tier. Once I was finished with that, I started cutting off my design. So I wanted to make a little bit of a triangle or an angled shape going down for both of the pieces. So I started with my second tier to make sure that my length of my first tier wouldn't be longer than that. So once I was done with that, I really didn't kind of like the look of it because it was a lot thinner than what I intended for in my mind. So I actually used the scrap pieces that I had before and went back in and layered them in between my previous loops and then over them as well so that it created more of a thickness. So I would definitely suggest to you to hang it up before you start cutting. I learned that the second time around. That's basically it, and I really liked how this one turned out. Alright guys, that's it for the content today, but thank you so much for watching. And if you like these videos, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Those likes actually help me figure out what you guys want to see and what I want to create next for you guys to enjoy. And in the comments, let me know what one is your favorite. So my favorite is a toss-up between the two-tiered boho ring and then the beaded fringe ring. I don't know. I like the beaded fringe ring just because it reminds me of Lion King. Like, I'm really happy to bring these to you. Let me know if you want to see more art pieces and DIY decor in comparison to kind of other inspo pics that you've seen. So yeah, let me know in the comments. And if you decide to create these, make sure you follow me on Instagram. It's RachelG_DIY on Instagram. And tag me in it. I would love to see your recreations. So thank you again for watching, and I can't wait to make the next one. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.